Oh, I love a bit of late night fencing. Darn sheep. So you ready for the big reveal? This is what it looked like 2 weeks ago. This is what it looks like now. Right, for those of you who might not have seen the previous video when we moved the pigs, we basically moved them over to the secret meadow, which is some flood meadows the other side of the brook, which are just overgrown and a bit wasted really. And you can see behind me, we've got sort of 2 meter high nettles, and more worryingly, a huge infestation of Himalayan balsam. And you can see here, this stuff is really towering, and it just goes back meters and meters through all these trees. And unfortunately, we are a little bit behind. These ones have started flowering, which means very soon they will form these seed heads which pop, and they shoot seeds 6-7 meters in every direction. It's a bit like a glitter bomb. Now remember, we're also on a flood meadow here, so what we can get rid of now and stop seeding is great, but we'll always end up with seeds that wash down, and that's why you see a lot of them seeding in the banks of streams and brooks and things like that. But we can't do anything about that. What we can do something about is all the stuff that's already growing here. So you ready? This is the big before and after. This is what it looked like before. This is what it looks like now. Pretty impressive, isn't it? It is, well, it's a day's trimming at best, but remember, not only have they eaten and cut down and wilted all the stuff that was above ground, they've got in, they've rooted up a lot of what was there. So the nettles and the balsam have now, well, they've been munched. You might say, well, look at the mess you made, but actually that's not the case. All of this is such fertile ground here. We'll be able to reseed around the perimeter, get those grasses growing back through. We might use some of the rooting mix, which is like a pig designed rooting mix. So there's kind of root veg in there and turnip seeds and all sorts. So it's just designed for them rather than more of a grazing mix for sheep. And then in amongst here, we can decide what we're going to do. Now, there's two options really. One is to scrape it out a bit, make it a bit deeper, because this was at one point more of a pond for most of the year, or like a wetland area. Or of course we can get some trees in here, and we're kind of thinking a combination of both. Plant it up with things like willow, poplar, birch, things that will cope with the water content in the soil, but equally leave some areas where we can leave a bit more wildlife wetland, but also somewhere the pigs can come in the summer. Fear not, I've got a bit of a piglet update coming later on in the video. I haven't forgotten. So if we step over the line into the side they haven't been through yet, this is what they've got to tackle next week. I mean, you could probably watch them grow. That's 2.5-3 meters. This is just where the kids have been playing, where it's crushed down, but all of this has got to go, because every one of these plants will seed and cause problems, and the amount of shade and density that Himalayan balsam creates, it just kills off everything below. There is a bit of an argument for Himalayan balsam and bees, because they love the flower and supposedly makes great honey, but bees can get addicted to it and then they stop pollinating the ones you actually want them to pollinate. So yeah, I need to do a bit more research into that. We're never going to get them all. There's always going to be Himalayan balsam flowers around here, so when the hives are started next year, we're still going to benefit from it, but we just don't need this. This is not good. This is what it's really all about for me. It's about using the pigs and the other livestock on the farm to do what they love doing and what they're good at doing to help us. I was trying to explain it to people at the open day on the weekend that the primary reason for having livestock on the farm is not the livestock produce that comes from them. For me, it's about, one, the enjoyment factor of having animals on the farm and the husbandry and kind of management that comes with that I enjoy. Secondly, and most importantly, they just become staff members. You know, these guys are doing stuff that we wouldn't want to do and we don't, you know, really need to do because we've got enough on our plate. So coming down here, we would have had to strim it all. We would have then had to come through and fork up all the roots, I guess. We don't have a rotavator for the tractor. Most of this is dodgy. You know, it's so soft that I wouldn't bring the tractor through here anyway. So they're doing a lot of the work for us. And the same thing goes for the sheep. The sheep are grazing all that land that we would have otherwise had to spend hours on the tractor and litres of diesel to do. They're feeding it because otherwise we would have to fertilise the grass. So they're all part and parcel of this sort of ecosystem on the farm, I guess. So the main idea of having pigs just for the meat is more of a byproduct than a product. This is the priority for me. Now, the unfortunate thing is pigs cost quite a lot to feed, and we're looking at ways to help with that, whether it's whey from the local cheese makers or spent grains from the breweries, but all that takes a little bit of management to get, because it's not quite as easy as just a dry feed. But we'll get there in the end. For now, I'm really pleased with how this has happened, and this is something that we probably will have to repeat each year. Once we've done this section, which they should be done by the end of today, we can then move them into next door, which is that next kind of lot of area with almost identical size, same sort of growth. We'll give them 2 weeks on that. After that, they can start on the meadow. Isn't that right, girl? I hope you're as impressed as I am on this. This has worked really well. It's becoming a success having the pigs over this side of the farm. It just wasn't working up there, and I think they're much happier down here too. There is one big risk though. Let me share that with you. As I alluded to earlier, this is a flood meadow. Either side of the brook, where the sheep are that side and this side, all flood meadows. Lovely sort of part of the natural landscape. It brings diversity, really fertile soils, the trees just thrive, but it's not so great for livestock. Now on the other side, peer through here, which is where the sheep are running at the moment, well, they benefit from the fact that it banks up, and then there's our paddock and our hill field. There's always high ground to escape to. We wouldn't risk bringing the sheep over here. There is simply no high ground over here, and if you were in a hurry, you probably would struggle to get them back across. It might be that if we know it's going to be dry for a few days, we can come over and sort of mob graze certain areas, but for now, they're staying safe over that side. The pigs, well, they don't suffer from the damp areas, not that it's that damp at the moment, but they would still struggle if it flooded. And I was speaking to our neighbour yesterday, and it really does flood. Most years this brook will burst its banks, flood out, and then basically the whole lot becomes a giant 100-metre wide river. And we knew that when we bought it. It's no big surprise. But what I hadn't realised is quite the velocity that it comes tearing through here. We saw at the weekend how much debris was in the brook, and the guys were hauling out huge logs that had come downstream. Even as I look in here, you can see caught up in this elder tree here, there's all sorts of debris and twigs, and that currently is about 8 foot above the water level. But like I said, when I was talking to the neighbour just over there yesterday, who's kept pigs and livestock, he's a butcher actually, and he said that the rate it comes through here, the pigs would be gone. You know, yes, pigs can swim, but not that well. So that's a good reason, and that's the main reason I left the trailer over here, so then get up high. But I think the main worry is the fact that it comes so quickly. It never stays out, so it's unlike when we were down in Somerset. It's not like out in the levels where it sits there for months. It'll be gone in a day, but when it does come through here, it'll come through waist high and just smash everything out. So hopefully that's going to be more of a winter time occurrence when we can, well, we won't have anything over here anyway. but it's something we really need to bear in mind, because if there was a bad spell coming, we want to make sure we load them up and move them back up to high ground. But we can't let it lay dormant over here just because of that one little window in time each year. It just needs to be something we're conscious of. Super simple to keep them in. 2 strands, never a problem. And even we've got 1 strand that runs and splits. They've not even tested that. The biggest issue is not the pigs, but the foliage and branches that might fall on it. So it does require a daily check every morning to come round to see what's touching. And I think like even that, I'll probably go and yeah, I think it's an even bigger area. They've got loads to get through this side. And there are trees in here we've never really been able to see because of it. I'm hoping the dog's waiting for me up here. There she is. Dog's not so much of a fan of the pigs or the electric fence, so she sits up on the path and waits patiently. Whilst we're on morning chores, to give you a bit of an update on the sheep. They come off this area and mowed all that yesterday, so that's going to rest for probably a month or so, and they're all up on the meadow. So we've ended up giving them most of this just because we were so busy, and in the heat we wanted them to be able to get to any shade they needed to. So they're back on, well, the whole remainder of the meadow. Beetle out. And now we've got access down to the brook here, which is where the kids call the beach. I can get water and just fill up their trough. They only get for about a bucket a day. We're probably a little bit behind on managing the sheep. In an ideal world, I'd like to split the lambs from the ewes now and have 2 groups, but 2 groups means 2 fences, 2 everything. And well, we could do that, we could manage it, but until we've got some physical fencing, it's not ideal because the electric, well, just takes more management. What we think we might do is bring all the sheep in, bring them up to the yard, and then do a bit of a once over on all of them. Some of them, well, none of them are badly lame anymore, but a couple of them did have foot problems, which we sorted. I don't think any of the wethers are big enough to go off to the butchers yet, but most of them will be better off if they're split. The ewes will get a good rest for the rest of the summer and early autumn, and then the lambs will do better on their own, I think, just for a few months, and then they can go back in. Right, it's the next day. We didn't get quite round to moving them yesterday. I've given them a little bite to eat over there. Turn the electric off. I'm not going to go ahead and move this trailer. They're not using it, but it's good to be over here. If there was a flood, we could escape quickly, but also if it's really wet, they can go in there. So all I've done is taken our dividing line. Remember, this is obviously where they've been already, and that's where they go in now. So I've just swung it across a bit, and there's just enough in the reel to get to that side. So once they've finished that bit of brunch, then we'll try and get them across here, which shouldn't be hard. Ready for some salad? Right, I'm going to wait for these last 4 to move over. Everything's set up. I'm going to get the drone up now, then you can see a true before and after and see how well these pigs really did. Why is it that just as you're wrapping up the chores to go home early, you can't see a single sheep? They're either all bunched up, quietly hiding, or they've managed to get through to the next field, which has no fencing. Gate's still up. That means they've punched through the hedge. Damn it. I'm guessing down there. Oh, where the heck are they? Oh, 1, 2, 3. Don't tell me they're spread out everywhere. Unfortunately, they're not all here, which means they're at the other side of the lake. Be a challenge for Maggie. There's no point in moving these on until we got the others. I just hope they're up here. Oh. Oh dear. Well, I think we just freaked out the heron. Never think of herons sitting up in trees. Okay. Go on, do your thing, Maggie. Wait, Maggie. Good girl. Here, here. Good girl. Go on then, sheep. Shh. Leave it, Maggie. Maggie. Good girl. Leave it. Good girl. Come on then. Good girl. This is dangerous for sheep in the winter. Next door lost a couple of sheep in there over the years, they said. Just gets really boggy. This is where the springs feed into that lake. Go on then, Max. Let's go. Shh. Maggie. Good girl. Good girl. Wait. All right, they've gone down on their own accord now. I think that's all of them. It's a good thing about sheep. Unlike the pigs, at least they stick together. They've got some sense sometimes. The dog's doing all right. She's finally got to the point now where she doesn't get chased. But you've got to harness the fact that she's starting to chase them. But that's okay. We'll do our little bit of amateur training. Just having something, i.e. the dog, to be in one place and you in the other just helps. It's almost like having the girls when I get them to line up, and then at least we can give some direction to the sheep. But anyway. So they're not all in. They found that really nice grass down there, that's why. Maggie, here. Away. Maggie, here. Away. Good girl. Wait. Good girl. Come on then. Wait. Go on then, girls. Through you go. That'll do, Maggie. Now. Scaredy cat. Now what's stopping them? Going straight back where they came through. Oh, I love a bit of late night fencing. Darn sheep. What are we going to do? Steady. It's like the worst colour dog to have for sheep. Right. Where does the dog stop and the sheep start? Well, I promise you a piglet update. Oh, just like that, they're coming out to perform. So we're on day 10 now, I think. When the last video came out, which was last Friday for Farm Friday, the piglets were already about 3 or 4 days old, but we only really featured the first 2 days. So they've been growing well, and we've been doing a few daily updates on Instagram and Facebook. Best news of all is Runty, our little tiny runt is doing really well. We had 2 runts. Unfortunately, the first one didn't make it through the first day, but the smallest of them, which was Runty, is doing all right.
Hey, I need someone to be up there to turn it off. Hey, I need you to turn it off.
So we were told that we can't really let her wallow if she's still feeding. So she's got a good few weeks before she can hit the mud again. So for now, she's getting a daily shower and just having cold, wet concrete to lie around on. They will go out in the grass very soon, but we'll have to make sure she doesn't wallow. I think that's to do with mastitis and just the teats needing to stay clean. So finding out that Runty was actually a boy yesterday, we are at 5 boys, 4 girls. As you can imagine, they're going down very well with the girls and all the visitors to the farm. It's funny how you get more visitors when you've got baby animals around. They've also nearly doubled in size in their first 10 days, so they are quick growing, and it won't be long before they'll hold their own out in the paddock, and then hopefully in maybe 3 or 4 weeks, possibly even down in the woods where the other pigs are or near there. We'll try and do an update every Farm Friday on the YouTube channel, but if you do want to see more piglet spam, Piglet media and content, then we'll put it on Facebook and Instagram, and you can head over there and follow along. We'll try and do an update every Farm Friday on the YouTube channel, but if you do want to see more piglet spam, Piglet media and content, then we'll put it on Facebook and Instagram, and you can head over there and follow along. But for now, they've got the whole stable. They're sharing it with the little pecan family. And they're doing just great. We did get the heat lamp set up, but simply no point. And we had another bar running all the way across here for a bit of a safe zone. Now we are lucky that Matilda is a really experienced mum. This is her 4th litter. So she knows the story by now, and she goes down super slow. I don't think there's much risk there. But in that first day or 2, when she was a bit weaker, she would go down quicker, as you can imagine, after giving birth to all these piglets. So that was why it was worth having those bars in. But in reality, the risk now has really dropped off. Here's a little look at Runty next to his bigger sibling. So I can give you a bird's eye view, pig's eye view. They do have very, very sharp teeth though. They're already giving each other scratches and bites when they're fighting over feeding time. There you go, there is your piggy update. That is the Farm Friday for this week. We've got a bunch of different stuff next week. We're probably going to have to bring the sheep up. I've probably wasted about 3 hours of my day today chasing them through fields, brooks, gardens. It's been a nightmare. Hopefully the fencing contractors start next week, and while they're here we might add a few more bits on, because the electric fencing's great, but it would be good to know there's an actual physical barrier somewhere. As I said, check out Instagram for more piglet stuff. We'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Remember, if you can, do it yourself, and we'll see you next time.